Freshly baked bread, get it while it's warm.
Look out for the wagon!
Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar!
İleri, çabuk olun!
Kłaniamy Ci się, Chryste, i błogosławimy Tobie, żeś przez krzyż swój świat odkupić raczył. Amen.
Stop everything, because what I'm about to reveal is the most crucial moment in European history. The moment that determined whether you'd be speaking German today or Turkish. Picture this. It's July 1683. The largest army in human history, 300,000 Ottoman soldiers, is marching toward Vienna, the heart of the Holy Roman Empire. Their goal isn't just conquest. It's the complete elimination of Christian Europe and the establishment of Islamic rule from Istanbul to London. But here's what's going to blow your mind. They're winning, spectacularly. Every Christian army sent against them has been crushed. Every fortress they've attacked has fallen. Every European alliance has collapsed in terror. Vienna, the last major city standing between Ottoman expansion and European heartland, is surrounded, outnumbered 10-1, and has maybe 2 weeks before complete surrender or total annihilation. This is the moment when 1,000 years of Christian European civilization faces extinction, when Islamic empire reaches its absolute peak of power, when the fate of two religions, two civilizations, two completely different ways of life comes down to a single siege that will determine the future of human history. But there's something else about this siege that's going to change everything you think you know about European survival. Because Vienna's salvation won't come from the Holy Roman Emperor, or French military support, or Spanish reinforcements. It will come from the most unlikely source imaginable, a Polish king with the largest cavalry charge in military history. September 12, 1683. 18,000 Polish winged hussars, thundering down from the hills above Vienna, in a charge so massive, so unexpected, so overwhelming that it will break the greatest army the world has ever seen and end Ottoman expansion into Europe forever. This is the story of the siege that saved Christian Europe, the battle that stopped Islamic conquest, the moment when East met West in the most epic military confrontation in human history. And the shocking part, almost nobody knows it happened, the Islamic tsunami. Let me take you back to the moment this apocalyptic confrontation became inevitable. 1682. Grand Vizier Kara Mustafa Pasha stands before Sultan Mehmed IV with the most ambitious military plan in Islamic history. Picture the Ottoman Empire in 1682, controlling territory from Algeria to Iraq, from Crimea to Yemen, the largest, richest, most militarily advanced empire on earth. More powerful than any European kingdom, more sophisticated than any Christian state, more threatening to European survival than any force since the Black Death. But Kara Mustafa's plan goes beyond anything the Ottoman Empire has ever attempted. Complete conquest of Christian Europe through a systematic campaign that will eliminate the Holy Roman Empire, destroy Habsburg power, and establish Ottoman rule from Vienna to the Atlantic Ocean. Here's what makes this plan terrifying. It's completely realistic. Ottoman military technology exceeds European capabilities. Ottoman administrative systems are more efficient than European governments. Ottoman economic resources dwarf European treasuries. Most importantly, European Christianity is divided against itself. Catholic and Protestant states are more interested in fighting each other than uniting against Islamic conquest. France, the most powerful Christian kingdom, is actually allied with the Ottoman Empire against Habsburg Austria. Sweden, England, and other Protestant powers prefer Ottoman victory to Catholic Habsburg dominance. The same religious divisions that created the 30 Years' War are now preventing European unity against existential Islamic threat. By spring 1683, Kara Mustafa has assembled the largest army in human history, 300,000 Ottoman soldiers, including the famous Janissary elite infantry, massive siege artillery, and cavalry forces from across the Islamic world. But this isn't just military conquest. Its religious crusade designed to complete what Islamic armies started 1,000 years earlier, the conversion of Europe to Islam and the elimination of Christianity as a major world religion. Ottoman siege trains carry more than military equipment. They transport Islamic scholars prepared to convert European churches into mosques, administrators ready to impose Islamic law on Christian populations, and colonists planning to establish permanent Islamic settlement throughout Central Europe. This is total war for civilizational transformation, the European nightmare. By June 1683, Kara Mustafa's Islamic tsunami is crushing European resistance faster than Christian armies can organize defense. The scale of Ottoman success is so overwhelming that European survival seems impossible. Picture the catastrophe unfolding across Central Europe. Hungarian fortresses falling after token resistance, Moravian cities surrendering without fighting, Austrian defensive positions abandoned as Habsburg forces retreat in panic toward Vienna. But here's what makes Ottoman success truly terrifying. They're not just conquering territory, they're systematically destroying European civilization. Christian churches are converted to mosques or demolished. European populations are enslaved or forced to convert to Islam. Christian cultural artifacts, books, art, music are destroyed as evidence of infidel corruption. The Ottoman advance represents existential threat, not just to European political independence, but to European cultural survival. If Vienna falls, Christianity in Central Europe ends forever. Emperor Leopold I faces the most impossible choice in Habsburg history: abandon Vienna and retreat to territories that might be defendable, or commit everything to defending a city that seems impossible to save. Leopold chooses defense, but his decision seems suicidal. Vienna's garrison consists of 15,000 soldiers against 300,000 Ottoman attackers. The city's walls are medieval fortifications designed for pre-gunpowder warfare, inadequate against Ottoman siege artillery. Most devastatingly, European military assistance is pathetically inadequate. French refusal to help means no Western European support. German Protestant princes provide minimal assistance because they prefer Ottoman victory to Catholic Habsburg success. By July 14th, Vienna is completely surrounded. Ottoman siege lines stretch for miles around the city. Massive artillery bombardment begins systematically destroying Vienna's defensive walls. The largest Islamic army in history is methodically preparing to eliminate the last obstacle to European Islamic conquest, and European resistance seems hopeless. The desperate alliance. Alliance for untold, your I nothing tor nor I domding, to buffet can drowned, pagtuliskuring. But just as Ottoman victory appears inevitable, something extraordinary happens. The most unlikely military alliance in European history begins forming to attempt Vienna's salvation. Enter Jan Sobieski, King of Poland-Lithuania. September 1682. Sobieski receives Leopold's desperate plea for military assistance and makes the decision that will change world history. Poland will risk everything to save Vienna, even though Polish survival doesn't depend on Austrian success. Picture Sobieski's impossible situation. Poland has its own Ottoman threats on eastern borders. Polish military forces are needed for defending Polish territory. Polish nobility questions risking Polish lives for Austrian imperial interests. But Sobieski understands something that other European leaders miss. If Vienna falls, Ottoman conquest becomes unstoppable. Poland will face Islamic invasion without any European allies against Ottoman forces strengthened by Austrian conquest. More importantly, Sobieski recognizes this as religious war that transcends national boundaries. Islamic conquest of Vienna means Islamic domination of Christian Europe. Polish Catholic identity requires defending Christian civilization, even at enormous Polish cost. By spring 1683, Sobieski is assembling the largest Polish army in history, while simultaneously negotiating the Holy League, a Christian military alliance between Poland, Austria, Venice, and the Papal States, designed to coordinate anti-Ottoman warfare. But the Holy League faces overwhelming obstacles. Limited resources compared to Ottoman wealth, divided command structure without unified strategy, mutual suspicions between Catholic and Protestant members, geographic separation, making coordination almost impossible. Most critically, time. Ottoman forces are already besieging Vienna, while Christian alliance is still forming. Vienna's survival depends on military assistance arriving before the city's inevitable fall to Ottoman assault. The race becomes desperate. Can Christian Europe organize effective military response before Islamic conquest makes European resistance impossible? The siege horror, July 1683. The Siege of Vienna begins with Ottoman artillery bombardment that creates the most terrifying urban warfare experience in European history. Picture Vienna under siege. 300,000 Ottoman soldiers surrounding a city of 60,000 civilians and 15,000 defenders. Ottoman siege artillery, the most advanced in the world, systematically destroying medieval walls that were never designed to withstand gunpowder warfare. But Ottoman siege tactics go beyond simple bombardment. Mining operations tunneling under Vienna's walls to plant massive explosives. Psychological warfare using captured prisoners to demoralize defenders. Economic siege cutting off all food and supply lines. Within weeks, Vienna faces multiple catastrophes simultaneously. Military defense against overwhelming attack, civilian starvation due to supply shortages, disease outbreaks caused by overcrowding and poor sanitation, psychological collapse as defenders realize their hopeless situation. Austrian military commander Count Ernst Rudiger von Starhemberg faces impossible decisions daily, whether to surrender and save civilian lives or fight to the death and risk total massacre, whether to ration food for military defense or civilian survival, whether to believe promises of European military assistance or prepare for inevitable defeat. By August, Vienna's situation becomes desperate beyond European experience. Ottoman mining operations create massive explosions that breach defensive walls, creating entry points for Ottoman assault. Food supplies drop to starvation levels. Disease epidemics kill hundreds weekly. Most terrifyingly, Ottoman psychological warfare proves that surrender offers no safety. Captured Austrian soldiers are impaled, flayed alive, or subjected to tortures designed to terrorize defenders into submission. Vienna's choice becomes clear: fight to total destruction or face Islamic conversion, slavery, and cultural extinction. The city chooses to fight. But by early September, even heroic resistance seems futile. Ottoman forces have breached Vienna's outer defenses. Islamic banners fly over captured Austrian positions. Janissary elite troops are preparing final assault that will overwhelm remaining Christian resistance. Vienna has perhaps days before complete Ottoman victory, and European Islamic conquest becomes inevitable. The miracle arrives, September 8th, 1683. Just as Vienna's fall appears certain, watchers on the city's walls see something impossible: European banners appearing on the hills surrounding the Ottoman siege lines. The Holy League army has arrived. 70,000 Christian soldiers, Polish, Austrian, German, and other European forces have somehow reached Vienna despite Ottoman control of all surrounding territory. But here's what makes this arrival truly miraculous. The European relief force includes the largest cavalry concentration in military history: 118,000 Polish winged hussars, German heavy cavalry, and Austrian mounted troops preparing for a charge that will either save Christian Europe or result in total European military destruction. Picture the impossible odds: 70,000 Christian soldiers against 300,000 Ottoman troops holding fortified siege positions with superior artillery, established supply lines, and defensive advantages that should make European victory impossible. Jan Sobieski, commanding the Holy League forces, faces the most crucial tactical decision in European history: whether to attempt direct assault against overwhelming Ottoman numbers or retreat and abandon Vienna to inevitable conquest. Sobieski chooses attack, not gradual siege warfare or cautious tactical maneuvering, but massive cavalry charge designed to break Ottoman siege through shock impact and psychological disruption. September 12, 1683, dawn. Sobieski positions 18,000 Polish winged hussars, the most feared cavalry in Europe, for the largest mounted charge in military history. The winged hussars, elite Polish cavalry wearing distinctive feathered wing displays, riding specially trained war horses, carrying lance and saber combinations that create devastating battlefield impact through speed, precision, and psychological terror. But this charge represents more than military tactic. It's civilizational desperation. European Christianity is literally riding into battle against Islamic conquest, risking everything on single massive assault that will either save European civilization or destroy European military capability permanently. The fate of two religions, two civilizations, two entirely different ways of life, comes down to one cavalry charge. The legendary charge, September 12, 1683, 5 a.m., Jan Sobieski raises his sword above the largest cavalry force in European history and shouts the battle cry that will echo through history. Jesus and Mary, 18,000 Polish winged hussars, followed by German and Austrian cavalry, thunder down the hills above Vienna in a charge so massive, so overwhelming, so unprecedented that it creates the most spectacular military moment in human warfare. Picture the battlefield. Ottoman forces, exhausted by 2 months of siege warfare, suddenly facing cavalry charge they never expected from direction they never anticipated. 300,000 Islamic soldiers, realizing that European relief force is attacking with suicidal bravery that suggests divine intervention. The winged hussar charge hits Ottoman siege lines with impact that defies military logic. Polish cavalry, moving at full gallop while maintaining formation discipline, smashes through Ottoman defensive positions that should have been impregnable. But the charge achieves something more profound than tactical success. Psychological catastrophe for Ottoman forces who have never experienced military defeat on this scale. Ottoman soldiers who have conquered territory from Baghdad to Budapest suddenly face European military capability they didn't know existed. Islamic warriors who expected easy victory find themselves retreating from Christian cavalry charge that seems supernaturally powerful. Within hours, the entire Ottoman siege collapses. 300,000 Islamic soldiers, the largest army in human history, abandon siege positions, military equipment, and territorial gains to escape European cavalry pursuit. Kara Mustafa's invincible Islamic tsunami has been broken by Polish cavalry charge that transforms certain European defeat into complete Christian victory. But the Battle of Vienna represents more than military reversal. It's the moment when Islamic expansion into Europe ends forever and Christian European counteroffensive begins. Ottoman retreat from Vienna becomes systematic Ottoman withdrawal from European territory. Islamic Empire, that seemed poised to conquer Christian Europe instead, faces European reconquest of Islamic holdings in Hungary, Transylvania, and the Balkans. September 12, 1683, becomes the turning point when European Christianity stops retreating from Islamic expansion and starts advancing against Islamic Empire. The civilizational turning point. But Vienna's salvation creates consequences that extend far beyond military victory. It establishes European confidence, Islamic decline, and power relationships that will define world history for the next 300 years. Picture the psychological transformation. European Christians who expected Islamic conquest instead witness European military superiority. Islamic warriors who anticipated European submission face unexpected European resistance that proves Christian civilization possesses military capability exceeding Islamic power. The Battle of Vienna becomes the moment when European Christianity stops seeing itself as defensive victim of Islamic expansion and starts seeing itself as offensive force capable of Islamic conquest. Within decades, European powers are systematically dismantling Ottoman territorial holdings. Austrian forces reconquer Hungary, Venetian armies reclaim Dalmatia, Polish troops advance into Ottoman Ukraine. Russian expansion begins targeting Ottoman Crimea. The Islamic Empire that seemed poised to dominate European Christianity instead faces European expansion that will eventually eliminate Ottoman power in Europe and establish European colonial domination throughout Islamic territories in Africa, Asia, and the Middle East. But Vienna's victory creates cultural changes even more profound than territorial reconquest. European intellectual revolution that establishes European civilization as globally superior to Islamic alternatives. European military success against Islamic Empire provides evidence for European technological advancement, political organization, and cultural achievement that justifies European colonial expansion throughout the world. The confidence gained at Vienna enables European exploration, conquest, and colonization that will establish European dominance over Islamic societies, African kingdoms, Asian empires, and American native populations. Vienna becomes the moment when European Christianity stops defending against Islamic expansion and starts expanding against Islamic civilization. The Ottoman decline. But Vienna's defeat creates internal crisis within the Ottoman Empire that accelerates Islamic imperial collapse and establishes European military dominance throughout the Mediterranean, Black Sea, and eventually global Islamic territories. Picture the Ottoman psychological catastrophe. The empire that conquered Constantinople, defeated Crusader armies, and dominated European warfare for 300 years has been broken by European cavalry charge that demonstrated Islamic military inferiority. Kara Mustafa, the Grand Vizier who promised Sultan Mehmed IV conquest of Christian Europe, faces execution for military failure that exposes Ottoman weakness to European attack. Islamic military confidence, built through centuries of European conquest, collapses through single European victory. More devastating, Vienna's defeat reveals that European military technology, organization, and morale have surpassed Islamic capabilities. Ottoman forces that seemed invincible prove inadequate against European coordination and tactical innovation. By 1690, Ottoman Empire faces systematic European military pressure. Austrian armies advancing through Hungary, Polish forces attacking Ottoman Ukraine, Venetian navies controlling Adriatic Sea, Russian expansion threatening Ottoman Black Sea dominance. The Islamic Empire that threatened European extinction is instead fighting for Islamic survival against European expansion that seems as inevitable as Ottoman conquest once appeared. But Ottoman decline creates opportunities for European powers that will reshape global balance permanently. Habsburg Austria becomes dominant Central European power through anti-Ottoman military success. Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth gains international prestige through Vienna victory. Russian Empire begins expansion that will eventually eliminate Ottoman power in Eastern Europe and Central Asia. Most significantly, European colonial expansion gains momentum through confidence derived from Islamic military defeat. If European Christianity can defeat Islamic Empire at its peak power, European civilization can dominate any non-European society anywhere in the world. Vienna establishes European military supremacy that justifies European colonial domination throughout Africa, Asia, and the Americas. The eternal legacy. Standing in Vienna today, you can still see the walls where 15,000 Christian defenders held off 300,000 Islamic attackers for 2 months. You can visit the churches where Europeans prayed for miraculous salvation from Islamic conquest. You can walk the fields where Polish winged hussars charged into history's most decisive cavalry battle. But in September 1683, this wasn't historical monument. It was the moment when two civilizations, two religions, two completely different visions of human society clashed in warfare that determined the future of world history. Imagine one final moment. Picture yourself on Vienna's walls at dawn on September 12, 1683. Islamic banners fly over captured Ottoman positions just outside the city gates. European civilization seems hours away from extinction through Islamic conquest. Then you see something impossible. 18,000 Polish cavalry appearing on the hills above the Ottoman siege lines, preparing for charge that will either save European Christianity or result in European military destruction. You're witnessing the moment when European confidence replaced European fear, when Christian expansion replaced Islamic expansion, when European colonialism became possible through victory over Islamic empire. Vienna teaches the most dramatic lesson in world history. Single military victories can change civilizational trajectories permanently. Individual battles can determine whether entire ways of life survive or disappear. Personal courage can alter global power relationships for centuries. But Vienna also demonstrates how military success creates psychological confidence that enables cultural expansion far beyond original military objectives. European victory over Islamic empire established European belief in civilizational superiority that justified colonial domination throughout the non-European world. The cavalry charge that saved Vienna from Islamic conquest created European imperial expansion that eventually dominated Islamic societies from Morocco to Indonesia. Yet Vienna's deepest lesson transcends military history. When civilizations face existential threats, survival depends on unity that transcends normal political divisions. European Christianity survived Islamic conquest because Polish Catholics risked everything to save Austrian Catholics, despite national, political, and strategic differences. The Holy League that saved Vienna proves that civilizational survival requires sacrificing immediate interests for long-term cultural preservation. That defending shared values matters more than protecting individual advantages. Every generation faces Vienna's choice, whether to unite against existential threats or allow civilizational divisions to prevent effective resistance, whether to risk everything for shared survival or accept defeat through disunity. That's all for our journey through Vienna's siege, from Islamic expansion to Christian resistance to European victory that changed world history. If there's another moment when single battles determined civilizational futures, another place where military courage altered global power relationships, another story about how individual heroism changed the course of human development, let me know in the comments. Because the real lesson of Vienna isn't that European Christianity was superior to Islamic empire. It's that civilizational survival requires unity, sacrifice, and courage that transcends normal human limitations when ultimate values face ultimate threats. The siege ended. The need for civilizational courage never will.